Hello, everybody. We've got the 5 o'clock advisory here into the FSU Weather Center for Hurricane Irma. Now a Category 2 storm, but do not let that category fool you. We're still seeing winds gusting of up to 142 miles an hour in the Naples area. Here's Hurricane Irma right now, pretty much inundating the entire state of Florida. We've seen the clouds and the wind start to filter into the Big Bend area here in Tallahassee. The state of Florida, though, it is a mammoth storm, which means that it's going to take a long time for it to wind down. So although the category may have gone down, the wind field is still huge of these damaging tropical storm force winds, and those will slowly start to creep up the coast into the Big Bend region. Now, let's look at the cone. The latest cone and the latest numbers from the National Hurricane Center. We're moving north at 12 miles per hour, so it does not have much of a northwesterly component right now, which is a little bit better for our area, may keep it over land. However, these folks in southwest Florida, we are thinking of them right now. They are getting hammered by this powerful storm. Winds 110 miles an hour, gusting of 132. However, we've seen just recently here into the Weather Center 142 mile per hour gusts, so we do know that there are gusts still higher than that. 938 millibars, very, very strong storm. So where's it going? It is going about where we think, right up the coast into the Tallahassee region as either a Category 1 hurricane or a tropical storm. We are expecting these conditions to start going downhill tonight, and we'll have a lot more on the impacts of the storm in just a few minutes with Tevin. Right now, though, look at this radar. Lots of very strong rain bands, very strong wind, especially in the East Coast. We're watching these supercells with rotating supercells, rather, so a lot of tornado warnings popping up on the east coast of Florida, similar to what we saw in southeastern Florida last night. Now that's kind of scooting up the coast. And then we had landfall here in Marco Island, Naples, just a few minutes ago with the eye of Hurricane Wilma. It was a major hurricane when it made landfall. Its second landfall here in the United States. So parts of southeast Florida, Fort Lauderdale, down into Miami, Hollywood Beach, starting to clear out just a little bit, but do not step outside just yet. Those winds are still very blustery, sustained in tropical storm force. Fort Myers, watch out. You've got the eye wall coming towards you, and you've got a lot of storm surge on the backside of this once this passes by. Tampa, things are going to start going downhill very shortly there. Here in the Big Bend, though, the rain is coming. This is some light rain, but it's going to have some pockets of stronger winds in it. We were already seeing power outages here in the Tallahassee region. We're not exactly sure if those are wind related. However, we've been seeing wind gusts up to near 30 miles an hour as it is. So they could be near that area. Let's look at our wind speeds around 15 in Tallahassee. Apalachicola, of course, no friction of the land slowing the winds down, so it's right on the water, 24 mile per hour gusts right now. And these numbers, I promise you, they will start to go up throughout the night. This entire state of Florida, though, we know Fort Myers, we were seeing those winds start to pick up, 142 down in Naples. Look, 77 in West Palm Beach. That is well into hurricane strength. In Pembroke Pines, Florida, you saw 106 mile per hour gusts. Just to put that in perspective, Hurricane Wilma, the max you saw in Broward County was 91. So we're already seeing effects stronger than Hurricane Wilma in South Florida. And if you know how that affected the area,
all right, thanks a lot, Matt. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties right now. So we're going to go, Colby and I right here in the lab, and we're going to outline what has changed about Hurricane Irma really since the start of this morning. And what we wanted to do is start off with this water vapor imagery from the new GOES 16 satellite here, and really showing that whole shortwave trough that we've been talking about these last few days and how it's going to be, steering Irma. Something behind it, we were talking about all this dry air that really came in behind this hurricane. A cold front came through back on Wednesday, really dipping the temperatures down at night too. So we're actually sitting here with about a 66-degree temperature outside right now. So what exactly has changed about Irma's structure, Colby?
Well, you see that eye wall begin to become degraded as it makes moves onshore, but also it's that dry air that's actually undercutting the storm itself, and that's really good news for us up here in Tallahassee because it'll actually, we can see those winds not be as strong as we were originally forecasted in the very beginning, well, last 24 to 48 hours. So really to see that undercutting that dry air, that's really a good sign for us up in the Big Bend. But the threat is definitely still there for some very gusty winds.
Yeah, the backside of the storm is what you were really alluding to. That backside's really not as much pronounced as it was earlier. There's not that kind of symmetry to the storm that we had before. And again, this system is going to help to eventually steer Irma off towards the northwest. So that's why, despite this current northerly motion, you see a lot of these forecasts pushing it pretty much directly into the Big Bend area. So that's why we're still going to be looking at the possibility here of seeing these hurricane force winds. Tropical storm force winds are essentially a certainty at this point. And it's going to likely get a little bit of time over the Gulf, despite being in a rather high wind shear environment. That's not exactly favorable for any kind of intensification. This, like we talked about, was just went down to a Category 2 storm, but it is still a monster of a hurricane in terms of its
Do not
wind
let your
distribution.
guard down. Do not let your guard down. This is by no means a cause of celebration up here. This is just where the wind's just a little bit lower than we were expecting, but still we're definitely going to have some, we're going to feel the effects here.
Yeah, and those gusts,
we're definitely going to feel the
gusts
effects.
are still kicking up down in
Yeah,
southwest Florida.
absolutely.
What we're going to do for now is outline one of the other threats, really, of this storm. Starting off, we're going to look at the eye right here, and you actually see a little bit of cumulus convection within the eye itself, a further sign of this degradation that you were talking about. Not really too much going on in the southern eye wall anymore, even though the northern eye wall really just ripped its way on through Naples and started to move up towards Bonita Springs, eventually reaching the Fort Myers Estero area pretty soon. Off to the east, though, this is where things get interesting. We're going to switch over to the Melbourne radar and get a more in-depth view of plenty of tornadic activity going on here.
Of tornado warnings as we have those embedded supercells and those rain bands, and they're coming onshore and interacting with the land. A lot of these will start as water spouts just offshore, but as those do push in, we can see a slew there of just south of the Melbourne radar site there along 95. Nice couplet there. This is coming in. This is moving off to the northwest.
We would not be surprised to see a warning on that one. Let's look at where exactly this is going to be moving in towards.
Definitely Titusville. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's going to be Titusville. This one will be moving on shortly onshore. Also some questionable couplets there. This can be just to the south. This is between Gifford and Sebastian. This will be moving onshore as well. So plenty of action there right along 95. And then even just off to the north and east of Orlando as well. We have an embedded couplet there. It's very hard to see, but these are going to be very brief spin-up tornadoes, but still something you must take serious with these rain bands as they're coming on shore. Just another added threat to this storm.
To accentuate here with us, those of us in Tallahassee, the tornado threat is not going to be as large with Irma as it is along the Atlantic coast here, but it is still a possibility to see an isolated, typically a short-lived tornado with this hurricane. Because we're in such a high wind shear environment up to the north, after that cold front moved its way on through our region, that's really a big reason, if you really get that going at the lower levels, that even if you are on the west side of the storm, that's where you can still see a brief spin-up tornado.
Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely worried about that little couplet there. If you're in Titusville, and as well as Port St. John, as those are, that is going off to the northwest. That will be coming onshore very quickly there.
So what we're going to do before we send it back over to Tevin is just take a more detailed look at what's going on around Tallahassee. So you got some lighter rain starting to move its way over here. It hasn't really gotten any kind of steam. Usually we've had these bands that are east of I-75 try to cut through the rural communities to our east in our viewing area, and then dissipate just a little bit, so nothing more than a light little sprinkle. But the further north and west that the storm eventually moves, the more rain we're going to be seeing, and the heavier rain.
I'll actually step out where you can see that a little bit better, because you can see how right there along 10, you're starting to have some more moderate showers as you go toward Lake City and then back toward the Gainesville area. Definitely the more moderate rain there.
Exactly. So now what we're going to do here, take it over to Tevin. He's going to outline some of our key messages going forward through the night into tomorrow. All right, once we get Tevin's mic fixed up here, we're going to be going back over to him at the wall. But again, let's move a little bit onto the east here, and you start to see some of this heavier rain becoming a factor. Move over to the Jacksonville radar, you really get to see that go. We're going to actually roll an action back out to Tevin, who's going to look at some of the rainfall totals that we could be expecting from Irma.
Yeah, sorry about that. Having some audio troubles, of course. That's the magic or the joy of live TV. We're going to take a look at some rainfall totals that we're expecting in the area here. You can see that we do have about anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rain possible over the next 12 hours or so. This is until 9 a.m. tomorrow, but then we can continue time a little bit more and see that we add about an inch or so onto these numbers. Even more, St. Mark's expecting a little bit more than 7 inches of rain. Tallahassee right at about 6 inches, and Quincy a little bit under 7 inches of rain. So everybody getting some rain. I think that we'll fill in this area between Thomasville and Monticello. Of course, this is our in-house model. See, these are only estimates, not exact, but you can expect certainly a lot of rainfall to fall with this system, especially as it pumps in some of this Gulf moisture that's located right off of the coast. And speaking of the coast, we do have some storm surge kind of forecast for you to see. If you see the area in red or in blue, especially for Wakulla County, blue and yellow, blue is going to be anything greater than a foot, so you can expect those water levels to really start to rise and push in. And then the yellow will be anything greater than 3 foot. And then the greater than 6, there is an area just along the coast, the far southern area south of Cabbage Grove, that's expecting about 6 feet of inundation from the rainfall. We can also expect a lot of wind with this, and the wind shift, you can see this here as sort of the eye. This is on our Futurecast winds and temperatures and works its way up towards the north. This is not exact, may I remind you, but somewhat of an estimate of when we can expect this to arrive. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. is when our in-house model is showing that the winds will begin to shift out of the north in that cyclonic rotation. And you can see somewhat of an eye passing north of Leon County through about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So this, unlike Hermine, will be a long-lived system that will carry over really throughout tonight into parts of your Monday, maybe even Monday evening. So hunker down with this storm. Don't go out if you can. If you can help it, certainly don't go out once the storm is here. Wait till everything is passed. And we have been told even after it has passed, there is a citywide or countywide curfew, from 9 p.m. tonight until 7 a.m. tomorrow. That is recurring not only today, tomorrow, but also into Tuesday too. Hurricane Irma is expected to cause some power outages. As you can see here, this is courtesy of the University of Michigan. Leon County, that little boot dot right there at the 40 to 50% or anything greater. So we're expecting about 30 to 50% of the population to be without power after the storm makes landfall, or after the storm moves through, rather. Of course, this is something that everyone will have to be patient with. These utility workers, they are trying their hardest. Of course, they cannot go out until after the storm has passed. And I know we have crews from as far as Ohio here to assist us, because these winds coming with this system will be something that will certainly knock down power. About 90% of Tallahassee has trees above their power line, so as you can expect, a lot of people will be without power for some time, especially these winds. If it is a Category 2 and sustains itself when it reaches Tallahassee, we're expecting winds to be at about 96 to 110 miles an hour. But say it's a low-grade tropical storm or a high-end tropical storm, still winds 40, sustaining to 73 miles an hour. This is not something that will certainly, just pass over like that. Again, it's going to be long-lived, so you will want to hunker down inside wherever you are. If you have any last-minute, late last-minute preparations, do them right now, because impacts will begin tonight, 8 o'clock tonight. The curfew kicks in place at 9, so you don't want to be out, or you legally, technically cannot be out past 9 o'clock until 7 a.m. tomorrow, right around sunrise. And then power outages are likely, along with some possible isolated tornadoes that come along with these hurricanes too. So keep it right here. We're going to update you guys with the latest information as we get it. I know it's a lot, but head to our Facebook and Twitter pages, FSU Weather, and YouTube too. We post occasional updates online for you at home. We'll try to get all of the information out, especially on Twitter at FSU Weather.